Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you a gameplay between Sergei Movsesian and Garry Kasparov. Sergei Movsesian is an Armenian chess player and a grandmaster, but he played his most of his chess career for the Czech Republic. While Garry Kasparov, you all know, is a Russian chess grandmaster, 7 times world chess champion, and is a political activist, writer. Yeah, and he also had a peak FIDE rating of 2851, and it was surpassed then by Magnus Carlsen. Yeah. So this game was played in the year 2000 at Sarajevo in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and this game features an excellent exchange sacrifice, which is very common in the Sicilian. So let's get into the game. Sergei Movsesian is playing white, and Garry Kasparov is playing with the black pieces. And Sergei opens the game with pawn to e4, c5, Sicilian defense is on the board, knight f3, d6, d4, the open Sicilian, c takes d4, knight takes d4, knight f6, knight c3, a6. The knight of Sicilian is on the board, bishop to e3, the English variation, pawn to e6, transposing into the Scandinavian variation. f3, b5. This is also very common in the Sozen, where black goes b5, which is very useful later to attack with b4, dislodge this knight. So queen to d2 by white, knight bd7, long castles, bishop to b7, z4, trying to play g5 and h4, h5 and create a attack on the king side. So this g5 just attacks the knight. So the Sicilians are like this. White will be like pawn storming on the king side, and black will be pawn storming on the queen side. So it's like, you know, knockout. Who's going to knock out whom first? So that's how it all functions. And black will equally castle to the king side, and it will be opposite side castling. Yeah, but black still haven't castled it. Let's see what happens. To b6. So moving this knight to the queen side is very essential. So all the minor pieces will contribute to the attack on the queen side. Queen to f2. This queen to f2 move is an inaccuracy. It's better for white to just continue with g5 or go knight b3. Like g5 is a very logical move. You just, you know, press the throttle and you just keep going. But this queen f2 move is slightly inaccurate. So which just creates an advantage for blue. And Kasparov just takes advantage of it by playing knight fd7. So this is a prophylaxis move. It just gets out of the way of this pawn. So when this pawn goes to the g5 square, there will be no threat. There will be no knight on f6 together. And this knight is also now ready to jump to the c5 square, and it can just put a lot of pressure on the white king. King to b1. It's always a good idea to play king b1 while going long castling. Rook to c8, and here white had to play knight ce2, getting out of the way of this rook and also this pawn on which will come to the b4. But in this case, white played the move bishop d3. It's like a good move. The thing of bishop, what can go wrong? But feel free to pause the video and find the move that Kasparov played. Take your own time. Congratulations, you found the move. C3, yes. Kasparov sacrificed his rook, and this is not very odd or very rare. If you are a Sicilian player and you know a lot of Sicilian games, or you know, if you have certain knowledge in the Sicilian defense, you know this rook takes c3 exchange sacrifice. Giving up a rook for a knight is very common in the Sicilian defense, and it's because of these reasons. One is now, b takes c3. So now the pawn structure is damaged, and white's king is quite open, and it also takes off an important piece which was controlling the center very much, and it was also defending the king. So it's just removing the defender and a good piece. By giving up a rook, it's fine. So the position is very dynamic. So it will compensate the material disadvantage. That's the idea behind these sacrifices. Going to c7. Now immediately taking advantage of this weakness. Now white has to go passive. Go knight e2 and defend the pawn from the queen. Bishop to e7. g5. So white's just going for the attack. Black castles. h4. Knight a4. This knight a4 is not to take this pawn. It's just to place the knight over there. Trading here is a terrible idea because then there is knight takes and queen takes. Just don't want to trade this knight for this. Step back to c1, providing an additional layer of defense. Knight to e5, threatening the bishop and centralizing the knight. h5. No, so it's just a race. White is just desperately trying to open up the, king side by playing h6 or g6. The thing is, white wants to go like queen h2, form this battery with this rook, and once the h file opens, this battery will serve checkmate. But that's a long idea, and the opponent is b5. Very principled move. The idea, there's actually two ideas. One is, if your opponent attacks you on your king side or on the flank, you strike in the center. So that's the basic principle. So that's one idea. The other idea is, now this bishop is open. This bishop can see the world. So yeah. As promised, queen h2. Now this queen h2 is a bit lethal. You cannot move your knight, you lose your queen. Or even if you reinforce your queen with your rook, if this knight moves somewhere, maybe you take this bishop. That is queen takes c7, which trades the queen, and once the queen trade happens, then white will be the better person because white has the materialistic advantage, and there will be no attack for. So yeah. So Garry move bishop d6, just creating this deadly attack on the queen once the knight moves. So the queen goes to h3. Now knight takes d3, pawn takes d3, b4. B4 is a very important move, just knocking the door at the white's position. Pawn takes, and as this pawn moved, now this diagonal is up for grabs. So before that, we go rook c8, trying to play queen c2. So king a1 is played. So we just open the center. D takes e4, f takes e4, bishop takes e4, sacrificing the bishop. And the idea is white cannot simply go capture the bishop and accept the sacrifice, because now there is no pawn which can go to d4 and block this diagonal. So bishop e5 check is very deadly. So bishop e5, then knight c3 has to be played. Then there is knight takes c3, cannot take, so all reinforced, and it's deadly. Now, look, now it's actually mate in 9 after rook d8 check, rook takes d8. Uh, you know, completely gives crazy lines, sacrifice the queen like queen h2. You don't even take it, you go queen c4, and it's g6, trying to open up the things, but it's just knight d1 check, king d1, rook to c8, a3, queen takes c1, king a2, and rook c2, queen takes c2 is there, or king d3, queen takes c2, then it's the queen takes c2 is checkmate. The king can run away, king to b3, and you have rook c3 check. King can go to a2 or a4, it doesn't matter. Because king a4, it's rook a3, and rook a3 is checkmate. King cannot escape further. That's a pawn on a6. It's secured. And if the king goes to e2, it's the same thing. Takes a3 and it's mate. So that's the idea behind this bishop sacrifice. And the other thing is, you cannot execute and the rook is hanging. So yeah, so that's why white just ignored that sacrifice and was playing g6, trying to open up the position. I just take the rook, queen takes, bishop takes, b4. Then it's g takes f7 check, king f8. Though it's a good idea to not take this. Just it's better to go king f8 and hide behind this pawn. And this pawn is known as an umbrella pawn. An umbrella pawn is an opponent's pawn, which just reaches your position and it just tries to open your position. But what you do is you use that pawn as a shield and you just hide behind that pawn. You hide your king behind the pawn. So in this case, this pawn is an umbrella pawn. It's not actually a pawn. So this pawn itself is now blocking the white's attack. There's no attack actually, but still the same. It's an umbrella pawn. Then queen to g2, rook to b8. This rook to b8 move is very critical. So this just controls the b file and the queen also controls the c file. And the king is now going to be like knocked down in the corner. Let's see. Step to b2. And Garry takes the bishop. Then white plays the move. Knight d4. You may ask, what? You took my bishop. Why shouldn't the bishop be taken? The bishop is taken, then it's, mate in 4. After bishop a3 check, you can capture, but it's mate in 1. You just get ladder checkmated. There's nothing to defend. So you can go back, then it's check, king b1, then it's bishop e5, queen to b7, and then it's rook takes b7, checkmate. So white actually cannot take this knight. The bishop is lost. Then knight d4 is played. So this knight d4 move looks brilliant because this threatens knight takes e6 check, which forks the king and the queen. So it's deadly. It actually doesn't matter. Why? Because you will see there is knight takes d1, check, to take the pawn, and if white takes the queen, it's actually mate in 5 moves. It's bishop c3 check. The king cannot go anywhere. So the rook is slicing down the board and this pawn is just blocking the king's escape. So the queen has to sacrifice itself, queen to b2. And in this position, you play rook takes b2. Then it's knight to d5, trying to take the bishop, and it doesn't matter. I just go to b8, takes, and then you take back, and white cannot do anything. White can go a4, white can go d4, whatever. Whatever white plays, say it goes a3 or a4. It's rook b2, rook b1, checkmate, supported by the knight. An Arabian mate. So yeah. So that's why you cannot actually take the queen, and you cannot also go queen takes g7. But say, oh, I have queen takes g7 and off. No, it's just d6. You cannot do anything. Queen c7 is still mate in many ways. Bishop c3. You have to give up your queen. Queen takes, knight takes, and it's still mate. Whatever you do, checkmate. So yeah, that's why. And when Sergei played the move knight takes c6 after king takes f7, Movsesian resigned the game, and Garry was victorious. So yeah, that's it for this game, and it shows a brilliant exchange sacrifice in this position. When white played the move bishop d3, galloping the bishop, sacrifice the rook, rook takes c3. So it just damages the structure and opens up the king. And yeah, so yeah, that's it for this game. See you all in the next video. Bye bye.